Hey guys, welcome back to another Math with Max. So we are doing centers today, and today I'm actually introducing to you something new, brand new. Actually, some of you have seen it on Imagine Math, but not all of you have gotten there quite yet. But what we're doing today is prime and composite numbers. So a couple of you, I know I've taught you what that means, but not everybody. So that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm actually introducing a whole new topic to you today in this video. So you need your journal, you need scissors, you need glue, and you're gonna need two different colored highlighters. I'm gonna use green and I'm gonna use yellow. Again, it doesn't matter what colors you use, but this is the colors that I'm going to use, okay? So let's go ahead and get out our journal. And we want to turn to our table of contents, of course. Oh, and I forgot to write it in my table of contents. So today, and I don't know about you guys, but I already filled up this whole left side right here. So I'm actually going to be starting over here in my next column. This is going to be for me, it might be different from Miss Rodriguez's classes. For my class is going to be number 21. Okay. And 21 is going to be prime and composite. And let me write it down and then I'll show it to you. Prime and composite. Okay, so just like that. Okay. So again, if you need, and you guys always know if you need to pause the video or stop the video so that you can write something down, you know, you can do that. Let me get Max over here really quickly. Maxie! I totally forgot. I forgot to introduce the dogs again. Because what would it be if I didn't introduce the dogs and see what they're up to, right? Maximus! Max! Come here! Come here, Bubba's! Maxie! He's playing hide and seek right now. He thinks this is funny. Come here, Bubba's! Come here! They want to see you! Say hi! Say hi! Come here. You're okay. Okay. I don't know why he cries every time. Hi, say hi. Say hi. Okay, and here comes Rocky. Of course, right? Hi, Rocky. Hi. Okay, go play. Go over there. Go. Go. They're fighting over a new toy that we bought them. Okay, so here's what I want you to do first. So after you've written into your table of contents, prime and composite, you can go to your next clean page, 21. And I want you to write your title just like I have written my title. You see that? I'm trying to make sure I do it right. Okay, so just like that. So again, pause the video if you need to. Okay? And you'll notice, I want it to be written just like that. If you notice for the prime, I put a 1, and then for the M and composite, I made it capitalized. And that's for a reason, guys. So just make sure that that is done exactly. Okay, so again, we're talking about prime and composite. The first thing I want to do is write down the definitions for both. So the word prime, if you remember, it has a number. I put a number 1 in it. Instead of the letter I put a number 1. That's for a reason. Okay? The definition of a prime number is a number with only 2 factors. You might be thinking, well, Miss, why do we put a 1 if it's going to have 2 factors? And the reason is because a prime number only has 2 factors, and those factors are 1 times itself. When we're talking about prime and composite, we're always talking about multiplication. Okay, so 1 times itself. So we're going to write that down, the definition right here underneath prime right here. So we're going to write down a number. It is a number. I'm sorry, you know what? And I just realized I forgot to tell you guys. Make sure that you fold your paper in and crease it. You're going to fold it directly down the middle. So that our work here stays separate from our work over here. Just like we did in our table of contents when we first started our journal, we folded it down the middle so we got a crease in the center. So just like that, I want that on this page right here. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So prime is a number with, and the word only, we're gonna capitalize it completely, with only 2 factors. So again, if you're still confused, it's okay. We're going to get into what, oh, my bad. We're going to get into what that means. So again, that's a number. I feel like y'all can't see that. A number with only 2 factors. So that's what that means right there. Okay. Then I'm going to go to the other side and I'm going to write the definition for a composite. So again, a prime number is a number with only 2 factors, 1 times itself. And a composite number is a number with more than 2 factors. So it has to have 3 factors at least. So we can either say it is a number with 3 or more factors or a number with more than 2 factors, okay? And I think that's what I'm going to stick with, a number with more than 2 factors. But both of those statements mean the same thing. So again, it's a number with more, and the word more is capitalized, a number with more than 2 factors. Okay. You can see that. A number with more than 2 factors. That's why the M in composite is capitalized, because we're highlighting that word more than 2 factors. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the prime side so we can understand what it means to be prime. So again, prime is a number with only 2 factors, factors meaning multiplication, 1 times itself, okay? So going back to my prime side, right underneath our definition here, right here, I'm going to write that it has to be a number that is 1 times, with a multiplication sign, 1 times itself. Okay, so 1 times itself, just like that. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, 1 times itself. Okay, so we're going to start doing some examples. And for example, I'm just going to write EX, for example. Instead of writing fully out example, I'm just going to write EX. Okay, so just like that. Go, move. Thank you. Just like that. All right, and underneath that, I'm going to write the number 2. Just like this. Okay, so just like that, example, and then the number 2. Now, I have to determine if the number 2 is prime or composite. So I have to think to myself, what are all the ways when I'm multiplying, just multiplication, okay? What are all the ways to make the number 2 if I'm multiplying, okay? Start with the number 1. The only way to make a number 2 by multiplying a 1 is 1 times 2. That's where that rule comes in, where it says it has to be 1 times itself, okay? So what I'm going to write down underneath that 2 is 2 times 1. Because again, the only way to make 2 is 2 times 1. Again, it's always multiplication. We're not focusing on division or addition or subtraction. It's all multiplication, okay? I'm going to skip a line. I'm going to write another number. I'm going to write, and actually I'm going to do a little wavy in between so we understand there's a difference between the two. I'm going to write down the number 11. Okay, so just like that. And again, I have to ask myself, okay, what are all the ways to make 11 when I'm multiplying? Okay, I know it 1 times 11, so I'm going to write that down. Okay, and then I move on to the digit 2. Okay, does anything times 2 give me 11? No. Anything times 3? No, because 3, 6, 9, 12, no. Anything times 4? I don't think so, because 4, 8, 12, 16. No, I don't hear an 11 there. 5, 5, 10, 15, no. 6, 6, 12, 18. I don't hear an 11. Do y'all hear an 11 anywhere? So if I keep going, I can keep going. 7, 14, no. I already skipped past 11, so it can't be 11. It can't be 7, I mean. 8, 8, 16. Again, I passed 11. 9, 9, 18. Again, I'm passing 11 all those times. Never once did you hear me say that something times something equaled 11, except for 1 times 11, right? That was the only one. So because it was the only one, that's what makes 2 and 11 prime numbers, okay? So that's what I should have so far in my journal. Okay. The next number we're going to talk about is the digit 3. So I want to do the same thing. 3, okay? I'm always going to start with 1. 1 times 3 gives me 3, definitely. So I'm going to write that one down. 1 times 3, okay? Just 2, anything times 2, okay? 2 times 1 is 2, so no. 2 times 2 is 4. So I already skipped past 2, right? I mean, skipped past 3. And then 3 times 1, we already have that one. And then 3 times 2, no, I'm already going past it. So the only way to make 3 with multiplication is 1 times 3. So again, that's why it is prime, okay? And you know, one way that I try to get kids to remember is Optimus Prime. Has anybody ever seen Transformers before? Optimus Prime, he was the one. He was the main robot, right? So that's another way to remember Optimus Prime. He was the one. He was the main transformer, right? He was the main guy. So that's why all these numbers are prime, and that's why he's called Optimus Prime. Right? The next one is going to be 7. So again, the only way to make 7 is 1 times 7. Nothing times 2, nothing times 3, nothing times 4, 5, 6. None of these numbers are going to give me a 7 when I multiply them times something else. So the only way to make 7 is 1 times 7. Okay? So that's what you should have so far. And we're going to do one more. We're going to do, actually probably have room for, maybe I have room for one more or 2 more at least. I'm going to do a 5. Okay, again, the only way to make 5 is 1 times 5. Anything times 2? No, because 2 times 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, so I'm already past the 5. Anything times 3? 3 times 1? No. 3 times 2 is 6, so again, it's not going to work. 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. I've already gone past 5. All those times I went past 5, so there's nothing that's going to give me a 5, except for 1 times 5. Okay, so this is what you should have on your prime side. Now, these are not all of the prime numbers. There's millions and billions and infinity numbers, which means there's a lot of numbers out there that are prime. We're only going to be talking about the lower numbers, okay? But I am going to show you some tricks on how to figure out whether or not a large number is prime or, which we're going to talk about right now, composite. Okay, so what we wrote down for composite is that is a number with sorry, I have to make sure you can see it. It is a number with more than 2 factors, meaning it has to have at least 3 factors or more to be considered composite. All right, so let's write down example. I'm going to write down EX again, just like I did on the prime side. And I'm going to use the number 8 to start off with. Okay, so that's what your journal should look like right there so far. I don't know if you can see that because mine is a little bit lighter. It's a pink. Okay, so 8. So I'm always going to start off with 1 times 8 because that's an obvious one, right? 1 times 8. But there's another one. And the reason I know there's another one is because 8 is, sorry, I got to unblur it, is because 8 is an even number. Okay? So you might be saying, well, Miss, 2's also an even number. You were right. 2 is an even number. However, the only way to make 2 is 1 times 2. That's why 2 is going to be our only even prime. So if I ask you, what's the only even prime out of all the numbers in all the universe? You're going to tell me the number 2. Okay? However, all the rest of them are going to be, generally they're all odd for the most part, okay? So what else can make 8? We have 1 times 8. Let's talk about 2. Anything times 2? Yeah. 2 times 4 is also going to give me 8. So right there next to it, I'm going to write 2 times 4. Okay, so this is what you should have so far. Okay, and I can keep going. I need to think to myself, anything times 3. 1 times 3, no. 2 times 3, 6, so no. 3 times 3 is 9. Not going to work. I went past the 8, so definitely not a 3. What about a 4? 4 times 1? No. 4 times 2 is 8. We already have that one. 2 times 4 and then 4 times 2. I just switched the numbers, so those are the exact same thing. 3 times 2, 6. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 2 is 10. 9 times, so I'm skipping ahead, right? 6 times 2 is 12. So these numbers are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Nothing else is going to make us 8. Okay? So what do we need to look at what we have there. We have a 1, an 8, a 2, and a 4. Those are all 4 different digits. 1, 8, 2, and 4. So that means that 8 has 4 factors. 1 and 8, because 1 times 8, and then 2 and 4. So if I ask you how many factors does 8 have, you should be able to tell me 4 different factors. So right there, we're going to equals 4 factors. Okay, just like that. 4 factors. So that's how many factors that the digit 8 has. Okay. The next one we're going to do is 6. Again, I'm going to do like a little squiggly squiggly. Make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah. And the next digit that we're going to do is, I think we're going to do 6. Okay. Trying to make sure I have enough space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let me see, we'll do 6 right here. Okay, so again, the digit 6, you always want to start with 1. Anytime you're trying to figure out prime or composite, you always start with 1. Obviously, the first way to make 6 is 1 times 6. Okay. Now, I know there's another way because 6 is an even number. So we should know the difference between odd and even. We know that 2, 4, 6, 8, anything that is in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0 is going to be an even number. So it's a 6, so it ends in a 6. So let's see, 1 times 6, and then 2 times 3 is going to give me 6. So I'm going to write that one down also. So 1 times 6, and then 2 times 3. Okay, and then I keep going. Anything times 3, well, we already said 3 times 2, so those are the same thing. Anything times 4, no, I don't think so. Anything times 5, definitely not. And then we're back up then to 5. Did I already say 5? I can't remember. 5 times 2, no. 5 times 2 is going to give me 10, so I'm already past the 6. And then 6 times 2, well, we're already at 6, so that means I know I'm done. I've already hit the 6. Yeah, I'm already done. So if I count my factors again, I have 1 times 6 and then 2 times 3. So again, those are 4 different factors. So if I were to ask you how many factors does 6 have, you should be able to tell me 4. Okay. Again, I'm going to do a squiggly, and I'm going to do the next one. Okay, and the next digit we're going to do is 9. And that's what I was trying to tell you earlier. All even numbers except for 2 are going to be composite numbers. But not all odd numbers are also prime. For example, the number 9 that we're about to do right now. 9 is an odd number, but it is not prime. So again, I repeat myself. Just because a number is odd does not make it prime. But all of your composite numbers are going to be even, except for the number 2. So I know I'm kind of throwing a lot of things at you, but try to remember that if you can. Again, not all odd numbers are prime, but all composite numbers are even except for 2. Okay? So let's focus on the digit 9 that we have in our journals right here. So again, we have 1 times 9. We know that. So it's 1 times 9. And then I'm going to move on to the digit 2 because I always want to stay in order. So anything times 2, okay? 2 times 1, no, right? 2 times 3, 6, no, it doesn't equal 9. Did I say? No, I'm starting with my 2s. I'm so sorry. 3 times 1, no. 3 times 2 is 6, so no. And then 3 times 3. What do we get? 3 times 3 equals 9. So those are our 2 for 9. 1 times 9. And then 3 times 3. Now here's the thing though. If I were to ask you how many factors does 9 have, some of you might try to tell me 4, but that's not the case. You cannot repeat factors, okay? So it's 1 times 9, so those are 2 different factors, and then 3 times 3. However, these 2 3s are the same. You can't repeat factors again. So 1 times 9, because those are different, so we definitely have 2, and then the 3 and the 3, but I have to take one of those 3s away because I cannot repeat. So how many factors does 9 have? 1, 2, and 3. 1, 9, and 3. So the number 9 has 3 factors. Okay, this is what we should have right now. Yeah. That's why we don't want to repeat this 3 right here. So 1 times 9, 3 times 3, so 3 factors, okay? Let's do one more together. And we're going to, well, oh, I might have room for a couple more. Next one we're going to do is 10. I wish you guys could see Rocky and Max right now because they're on the couch over here. They're just staring at me. Rocky the most. He's just like staring me dead in the eyes, you know? He's wondering what I'm doing right now. All right, let's talk about the digit 10. So, again, we always want to start with 1 times 10. Or with something times 1. Okay? 10 is an even number. It ends in a 0. Remember, if it ends in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, it's automatically going to be a composite. So I know something else has to multiply to give me 10. And guys, if you know your multiples, prime and composite are going to be super easy for you. So anything times 2. Does anything times 2 give me 10? Yes, I know that 2 times 5 is going to give me 10. So I'm also going to write 2 times 5. Okay? Just like that. So, can you think of anything else that's going to give us 10? I can try 3, but nothing times 3 is going to give me 10. Anything times 4? No. Anything times 5? Well, we already wrote down 5 times 2. And then anything times 6? No. Nothing else is going to give me 10. So how many factors does 10 have? Well, if you count them, they're all different. So we should have 1, 10, 2, and 5. So that equals 4 factors. So far, 9 was the only one that only had the 3 factors, right? Okay. So we want to do 1, 2, 3, 4 factors. Okay. And then a squiggly. And the last digit we're going to do is 16. Things are getting bigger here, right? We're going to do 16. So 16, obviously we want to start with 1 times 16. That's going to be our first factor pair. And then we want to move on to the digit 2. Does anything times 2 give me 16? And the answer is yes. 2 times 8 will give me 16. So I have 1 times 16 and 2 times 8. Okay. This one's special because it actually has more than 4 factors, because if I keep counting, if I do my 3s, nothing times 3 is going to give me 16, but I do know that, my husband's trying to make me laugh right now, that 4 times 4 will give me 16, right? So I'm going to write down 4 times 4. Okay, so I had 1 times 16, those are 2 different factors, right? 2 times 8, so 1, 16, 2, and 8, and then I had 4 times 4. But again, remember when we did the 3 times 3 and we took one of those 3s away? It's the same thing here. We're taking one of those 4s away because we don't want to repeat factors. So again, 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and then 4 times 4. Take away one of the 4s. How many factors does 16 have? You guessed it, 5 factors. Okay. So just like that. You see that? 1 times 16, 2 times 8, 4 times 4, and then 5 factors there. All right, so that's all that we're going to do on the front. So again, what you need to remember is that a prime number has 2 factors, 1 times itself. And if that's the only way to make that number, it is automatically a prime number, okay? We also need to remember that 2 is the only even prime number. 2 is our only even prime number. I can't repeat that enough. 2 is the only even prime number, okay? Composite numbers are numbers with more than 2 factors. So it has to have at least 3 factors in order to be considered composite. And all of your composites, except for 2, again, except for the number 2, are going to be composite. So anything that ends in a 2, a 4, a 6, an 8, or a 0 is going to be a composite number. Okay? So I just told you that 2 is the only even prime number. So that's really important. That is something you need to remember. Okay? The other number we need to talk about is the number 1 itself. Okay? The number 1 is not prime and it is not composite. It's not either one of them. And the reason being is, let's say I have, let me write this down so you can understand. So I can make sure that you understand. Okay? How do I make 1 when I'm multiplying? When I'm just multiplying, not addition, not a subtraction, not division. The only way to make 1 when I am multiplying is 1 times 1, right? Just like this, yes? Agreed? That's the only way to make 1. But what did we talk about when we hit that 9 and then that 16? Was we had 1 times 9 and then we had 3 times 3, right? When I did that 3 times 3, I had to take away one of those factors, agreed? Okay, so if I were to ask you how many factors does 1 have, you should tell me that it only has 1 factor, right? Okay, so the number 1 only has 1 factor. But if you go back to your definitions for the number 1, or for prime and composite, sorry, the definition for prime says that it has to have 2 factors. So it can't be prime, okay? Again, prime has to have 2 factors, 1 times itself. And if I can't repeat factors, that means that it only has 1 factor, meaning it cannot be prime. And then the definition for composite says that it has to have more than 2 factors, so at least 3 factors. So again, does the number 1 have more than 2 factors? No. So it's not prime and it's not composite. Okay? And it's the only digit that is like that, except for maybe 0. But we're really not going to talk about 0 too much. But we do need to know, again, that 1 is not prime and not composite. And the digit 2 is the only even prime number. Okay, so the next thing you need to have is when you turn to the back. So this is what we just did right now. These were our notes that we just took. And then on the back, you need one of these. These are probably going to be on my desk somewhere. You only need half the sheet. There should be 2 of them per sheet. Like this would have been a complete sheet. So just make sure you cut it off and then glue it down. And now this is where you're gonna need those highlighters, okay? So we're gonna get our highlighters. Again, I'm gonna use 2 different colors. And before we even do that, I want you to fill in your definitions for prime and composite here. And just use the same definitions that we wrote over here. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna stop and pause right now. I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna write my definitions for prime and composite. So remember, again, prime was a number. You can write them nice and big. Write the definition nice and big. Fill up that extra space that's on the sides. Don't write a teeny tiny little mouse handwriting. I don't want that, okay? A number with only, and that only needs to be capitalized, a number with only 2 factors, okay? And those factors are 1 times itself, okay? So just like that. This should look just like that. A number with only 2 factors, 1 times itself. Then I'm going to go to the other side. Oh, I just realized I did the wrong color, but it's all right. No worries. Other side, I'm going to do my composite definition. So it is a number with more, and I'm going to capitalize that word more, with more than 2 factors. Okay, they both have the number 2 in the definition, so you have to be very careful. Prime, it has exactly 2 factors. No more, no less. Not 1, not 3, not so on. But a composite number, composite, has more than 2 factors. So that keyword is more. You have to pay attention to that word, not just the digit that's in the definition. Okay, so right now that's what you should have on your journal. Okay, now I'm going to take my highlighters. And I want all my prime numbers to be in, this is my choice, it's up to you. I want my prime numbers to be in yellow. So in that prime box, that box that says prime, I'm gonna highlight it yellow, just like that, okay? That means that I'm gonna take my my green highlighter, so we have 2 of these, right? These are my primes, these are gonna be my composites, okay? So right now, this is what you should have. I'm not gonna fill in this one because we talked about how there's only one number that's not prime and not composite. And that's what the word neither means. Not prime and not composite. So I'm going to leave that one blank. Okay. And we're going to just fill in a few of the rows. I'm not going to ask you, well, let me see how much time I have. I'm already at 27 minutes. So I think I need to hurry up a little bit. Okay. So let's look at our chart. The first digit, it is just a hundreds chart. It goes straight. It's not a multiplication chart or anything like that. It just goes straight from 1 to 100. All right. So we talked about the number 1. What color am I going to have the number 1? Well, it's not prime and it's not composite, so I'm going to leave that one blank. I'm not going to put anything in it, okay? Then we talked about the number 2. I talked about the number 2 a lot already. The number 2 is prime, so what color am I going to shade it? I'm going to shade it in yellow, okay? Just the number 2 right now, okay? Okay. We also talked about the digit 3. The only way to make 3 is 1 times 3. So that also makes it a prime number. Okay, so far all we've shaded in is 2 and 3. Okay, now let's talk about 4. 4 is composite, right? Because we have 1 times 4 and then 2 times 2. So it has at least 3 factors, 1 and 4 and then 2 times 2. That makes it a composite number. So I'm going to shade in the number 4 in green. Well, my green, because my greens are composite. Okay. And if you notice, underneath my 4, I have 14, 24, 34, 44, 54, 64, 74, 84, and 94. Those all sound like even numbers to me. And we talked about how all even numbers except for 2 are going to be composite. So I'm actually going to shade in this whole row going down. So under that 4, I'm going to shade in all of those. Okay. So far that's what I should have because all those numbers end in 4, so they have to be composite. Okay. The next digit is a 5. Okay. How do you make a 5? I know it's 1 times 5. Nothing times 2, 3, or 4. So that one also has to be a prime number. So I'm switching back to my yellow, and I'm going to make it into a yellow prime. Okay? So just like that. And if I look under 5, I have 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, and 95. So this does end in a 5, but that doesn't mean it's not a prime or, it does not mean that it's prime also, because I know that, what is the next underneath it? 15. I know that 3 times 5 also gives me 15. And then I also know that 5 times 5 also gives me 25, and 5 times 7 gives me 35. So I know there's more than one way to make these numbers. So again, remember how I said 15 is an odd number, 25 is an odd number, 35 is an odd number, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a prime number. All of these 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, all the way down to 95, those are all composites. Okay, so I'm shading in everything underneath the 5 is going to be a composite because I know that there's more than one way to make those numbers. Okay, now I'm moving on to the 6. 6 is an even number, making it composite. And then underneath that you have 16, 26, 36, 46, 56, 60, all those end in a 6. If 6 is a composite number, that means all the rest of those are also going to be composite. So 6 and down, composite. Okay, so right now this is what you should have. Okay, the next digit is a 7. 7 is prime. The only way to make 7 is 1 times 7. And we're not going to worry about the digits under 7 right now. We're going to skip over to 8. 8 is a composite number, 1 times 8 and then 2 times 4. So I'm switching back to my other color. Okay. And then all those digits underneath that, they also end in an 8. I have 18, 28, 38, 48, 50. So what do you guess what? They're also going to be composite. Okay. This is what we have so far. Then the next digit is going to be a 9. We talked about how 9 is also composite. So right now, just the 9, not the whole row. Okay. And then we also talked about 10, but if I look under 10, I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Those are all also going to be composite. So everything 10 included, everything underneath that, also composite. And it's going to, for me, it's going to be in green. Okay. And then let's go back to the digit 2. We said that 2 was going to be the only even prime. So under here I have what? I have 12, 22. They all end in 2 underneath that. So everything underneath the 2 is also going to be composite. Okay. This is all you need to have right now. Tomorrow we're going to finish the rest of them. Okay. So right now just make sure that yours matches mine. And then tomorrow we'll finish the rest of the chart. Okay.